Hello and welcome to The World as We See It. My name's Lloyd Hobart Mitchell and I am an ordinand with the St. George's congregation here in Pattaya in Thailand. You're particularly welcome if you have not visited us before. Welcome to you. And if you have, then welcome back. It's good to see you again. I know that actually we've shifted our transmissions instead of being every day between Tuesday and Saturday. Now, at the moment, we are only doing Tuesday and Saturday. That may well change in the future. It's not set in stone. But I've just been. There's Father David, who's actually the chaplain of St. George's congregation here, and he is overseeing my formation, which is the training somebody goes through when they are becoming a priest. Father David, incidentally, is also the person responsible for all of the organ music, not only the music you may well hear when we start our transmissions and when we end our transmissions, but also all of the organ music which is played in our chapel during our Eucharist services. So he really is quite amazing. Now, today we've got a little bit of a mixed bag. We've bashed 2 days together. Normally, we used to, up until very recently, look at the church times on a Friday, go through the headlines, have a bit of a chat about anything that was going on there of interest, and then on a Saturday we would focus on the order of service. Now, I've decided what I would like to do is push those together. We can do both on a Saturday. I hope you agree we can do it in a way which doesn't, doesn't undermine the integrity of either of them, really. I think we can. I think, there's a way through it. It really is just a matter of trying to manage time to get everything done. Anyway, I think it's working. I do think it's working. Now, by the way, I've got the chat boxes for Twitch and for Facebook open. So if there's anything which we're reading which you would like to comment on, if there's anything which I say which particularly resonates with you, then don't hold back. Do get in touch. Do send us a message, and it would be very good to see you. Yes. Now, let me have a look at sharing a screen. Now, this is where normally things go snap. So we'll see how we get on. I would like to feel more confident. I wish I could say, oh yes, this is going to work, but I'm never really sure. Let's have a look. Now, if you hear a barky dog, that's because we've got a few dogs in our house. We've got 4 dogs, and from time to time, people will drive their car very close to our front gate, or they will park their car very close, adjacent to our house. And if and when they do that, one or two of the dogs do get a little bit barky. So if you do hear a dog barking, then that's what it is. All right. Now, you should be able to see church times now. I know I can, so that's good news. And let's have a look. Okay, on features, we've got sex and the church, Yemen conflict, and Pastoralia, a review of a new biopic, The Eyes of Tammy Faye. Now, of course, what is the message to young people? That's the subheading of Sex and the Church and the Yemen conflict. Now, diplomatic white noise is failing civilians. The Yemen conflict has been going on for years, hasn't it? And I can't help but think that because of the nature of it and where it sits and all of the parties involved, none of the usual suspects of peacekeepers really want to get involved for fear of annoying the region, right? That's my feeling of it. I do think it's a dreadful shame that it hasn't been sorted out to date, because it's been dragging on for a dreadfully long time. And I've known a few Yemeni people over the years, not just in London when I worked with refugees, but I knew a couple then, but since as well, and I've always found them to be really very nice, quiet, um, nice people, really lovely people. So yeah, I find the whole thing. Oops, that was a barky dog, wasn't it? Now we'll see how we get on there. Now we've got in the news a headline. It says Dean Percy agrees to leave Christchurch as dispute is ended. The Dean of Christchurch, Oxford, the Very Reverend Professor Martin Percy, is to quit as part of a comprehensive agreement with the college that ends a bitter 4-year dispute. I mean, that's a strange state of affairs, isn't it? I mean, the fact it's news that he's going, that's very strange. You know, I'm always of the opinion it's much better to jump before you're pushed. But he obviously didn't agree with that, and so now that's news, isn't it? So the Dean of Christchurch, Oxford, the Very Reverend, is to quit as part of a comprehensive. We've done that. On Friday afternoon, a statement appeared on the Christchurch website reporting a successful conclusion to a mediation process with the Dean. It says Christchurch can now confirm that the mediation process has been concluded and a resolution has been reached that is acceptable to all parties. The Dean has agreed to step down voluntarily from his role as Dean of Christchurch. At the same time, the person who complained that the Dean had assaulted her by stroking her hair in October, sparking a new investigation, has agreed to settle her claim, the statement says. Right, so it's wow. Well, that is news, isn't it? I mean, this is good Lord. I don't know what to say really. I'm a little bit speechless really. The stuff we read in the church times is it's all rather shocking, isn't it? So I'm going to let you read that and draw your own conclusions. I don't think we'll go into that because I'm rather conflicted about a lot of this stuff. You know, it's quite strange, isn't it? I will go on to it. I know it's controversial, but it's quite strange because on the one hand, every ounce of my person wants to say support the victims, you know, at every stage, and you know, come what may, right? And especially these historic abuse cases where it happened so many years ago, and the perpetrators have passed away, and you know, you get 200 or 300 perpetrators crawling out of the woodwork, and you kind of think, well, actually, you know, it's too significant to ignore. There must have been something going on, even if it's not proved in a court of law. But in a case like this, where somebody stroked some hair, I mean, it's very difficult. I remember having debates many years ago when I worked with homeless people, and we used to have to draft these policies and procedures, you know, relating to boundaries and professional boundaries, and stroking of hair would have been prohibited. Of course, it's common sense. We, you know, would say that if a homeless person was very distressed, then we would, you know, we acknowledged that it's human to comfort somebody who is in distress. And, you know, we went so far as to say that sitting alongside an individual and maybe putting an arm around an individual who is suffering from, you know, distress, if they are very upset, can sometimes be enough to calm them down and to just let them know that someone else is there. And it walked a very fine line. So, you know, sitting alongside and putting an arm around making sure that colleagues knew what your plan was before you did it, so everyone was aware what the purpose was, making sure you were sitting in a public area, all of this sort of thing. So it was very, very carefully considered, but that was a concession. The principle of the policy was that beyond standard customary greetings such as shaking hands, there should not be physical contact between staff or clients. So it makes that. So that's my kind of professional opinion. And then on a personal note, I kind of think, well, how bad is it if a person touches another person's hair? Is that assault? I mean, how do we define assault? It's very, very, it's it's a minefield, isn't it? It's a minefield, very difficult. But yeah, well, okay, he's obviously decided that he's going to go. She's decided to settle. You would imagine that there's some money involved somewhere there between the college or him or her or wherever, and it all seems rather nasty. Anyway, I often think these things are much better going to court, because everyone is able to get everything out in the open. One can't help but think that this chap has stepped down voluntarily, and that's a bit like saying in Scotland, let's say, for example, there is a legal situation, a legal peculiarity that when a person is taken to court for a crime like murder or theft or something, where there isn't sufficient evidence, there is, instead of a verdict of guilty or innocent, not guilty, there is actually a third option for a jury, which is to say not proven, which I always thought was the worst case scenario, because if you were innocent but the verdict came back not proven, then everyone around would think, well, maybe you did it, right? And so I do think that this situation where there's a compromise agreement being settled, that's just not proven, is it? Horrendous. Worst case scenario, I think. Anyway, let's have a look. Levelling up funding not enough, says the Bishop of Sheffield. Well, we knew that. Set aside to regenerate 20 towns. Well, let's have a look. Let's click in that. How much money did the UK government set aside to regenerate 20 towns? Now, I remember years ago, there was a regeneration fund, and I think it came from the ESF, the European Social Fund, and they spent millions of pounds on the regeneration of Margate and Ramsgate, which is actually on the Isle of Thanet, on the very east of Kent. Okay, so they offer a London-style devolution deal to every part of England which requests one, supported by £2.6 billion in November, Wolverhampton, or 20 million quid. Okay, so some of them are not small sums. 37 million is a fair chunk. But I wonder what does 20 million pounds pay for these days? I wonder, is it enough for regeneration? I'm not sure. I mean, the big chunks, 37 million, is a fair chunk. But I do wonder 13 million for the South Yorkshire Combined Authority. I wonder if that's. I have a nasty feeling that these days 13 million pounds is relatively small beer for a local authority. So I wonder how much local authorities have coming in and how much that is as a proportion of their annual turnover. I would probably argue, I'm going to come down on the side of the Bishop of Sheffield and suggest that maybe it's not enough. Maybe the government has been a bit tight. which wouldn't be the first time a government of any colour has been tight. So let's have a look. Forced divide between religious and secular funerals to be studied. Okay, that's interesting. So we'll challenge the forced divide. Okay, interesting. After apology, Johnson hits back at MPs in face of Sue Gray's criticism. Well, he's clinging on, isn't he? He's still here, so something's happening. Now, this is interesting. So, this is a good development, I think. I can see here the anti-LGBT bill is severe and must be reviewed, says Ghana bishops. Now, these are the Ghana bishops who came out and said they would support the anti-LGBT law in Ghana, and everyone in the Church of England was aghast. I say everyone, lots of folk were aghast. It was all over social media saying how terrible that the church in Africa had stood by the government of Ghana. And yet here they are. Somehow the Anglican bishops in Ghana have spoken out about the proposed criminalisation of LGBTQ people and their allies in their country after weeks of speculation and an intervention by the Archbishop of Canterbury. I wonder what was said there. I would have liked to have been a fly on the wall, I'm sure. In a statement issued last Friday, the House of Bishops in Ghana says that sections of the draft Promotion of Proper Human Sexual Rights in Ghana and Family Values Bill, which is a very long title for a law, currently before the Ghanaian Parliament, were severe and must be reviewed. Okay. Well, I think that's good. I mean, it's a bit of a U-turn from what we read a few months ago. And that seems to be quite good. Good. Look at this. So the draft bill imposes a maximum fine of 5 years in prison for somebody identifying as LGBTQ. Wow. So just identifying as. Don't have to have been, caught necessarily doing anything illegal. Just identifying as. And advocating for LGBTQ rights will be a crime by up to 10 years in prison. I mean, that's extraordinary. So free speech then on that issue alone goes out the window. I mean, don't get me wrong. I know countries, independent countries are allowed independently to have their own laws. That seems a good idea. Makes sense. But one would have hoped that the world had moved on in certain areas. Now let's have a look. We've got England's Christian heritage is important to diasporic communities too. Of course it is. Yes. I don't think we need to read that. Who said you need money and a home to be a church leader? Jesus didn't. Let's look at this one. So this chap, is obviously homeless, I'm guessing, because he says you don't need a home. He's also sitting there. It looks like he's outside with a duvet over him. So this one's interesting. When churches take the journey of faith to include the homeless in the life, leadership and teaching of their church, not only do their cultures become radically inclusive, but they are brought to a truer light of what the church is, who they are, and most importantly, who God is. I like this. This is very interesting. My journey of discovery, engagement, and friendship with the homeless community began at the age of 18 when I was awakened in a Sunday morning service to the reality that the Missio Dei takes place beyond the four walls of the church. The local evangelist at the time, an 80-year-old minister, Hamilton, whose youth shone through, shared his life-transforming ministry with the homeless, incarcerated, and those on the fringes of society, who constantly faced marginalization. Compelled by Hamilton's testimony, I found myself serving at his food bank the following month. Honoring his conviction changed my life's trajectory and was one of the first times I had experienced God beyond the pages of the Bible and the formalities of a Sunday service. Wow, very good. So I'm not going to read all of that, but I will read it in good time because I think that's a really very interesting article. So, that's the point, isn't it? The last, the lost, and the least, right? That is the point. So let's go back. We'll go back to the. Come on, is it going to go back? Sometimes it does. Sometimes it has a little mind of its own, doesn't it? So interview. No, we won't watch that. Few books there. I'm trying to see if there's anything that really jumps out at me. It doesn't. And that. Now, no, okay. What we'll do, hopefully this won't break the internet. It's going to work. I'm going to see if this works. If this works, then, it does work. It does work. Look at that. So we're just going to go straight to the St. George's website, and hopefully you can follow me along. Right, so St. George's patio.com. There we are, and I think we'll be able to get rid of that and that. Okay, well, even that. Okay, that tidies that up just a little bit. And we will click on this little button down here that's where it says it is like a grain of mustard seed which a man took and cast into his garden. There is a button, it says latest sermon. You can't see it very well. I need to change that to red, I think. So I will. The next time you see this, I think that will be next Saturday, I will have changed that to a red button because it's a bit camouflaged at the moment. It doesn't really stand out at all. So we've come to sermons, and we are looking today at the 5th Sunday after Epiphany, and that's tomorrow's service. We can just double check. We have got the 5th Sunday after Epiphany. We have, and it says the 6th of February 2022. And I'm just going to run through. This is the order of service, starting at the top with some instructions, and that's for anyone who's at home who maybe is not familiar with what they need to do. Okay, and it says where there is a little purple cross, all are encouraged to make the sign of the cross. Where there is a little fist, all are encouraged to strike their breast with a closed hand, following the actions of Father David. And where the palm is shown, all are encouraged to tap their breast with an open hand, following the actions of Father David. So there you are. Now we can click on the next thing. This is called a collapsible accordion or expandable accordion, depending where you read it. And you click on the little plus sign and it opens up. And this is the first hymn: immortal, invisible, God only wise, in light inaccessible, hid from our eyes. And you can see all of the words to that hymn there. And there is a little note at the bottom. It says scroll to the bottom of the page for the media player where you can hear the music and practice your singing. And that is down here, right? Which I think that's really fun, right? I don't know any other churches that do it like this. I think we've ended up doing it the way we do it just because it evolved. Our order of service slowly evolved and became what it is. So yeah, I think it's really good fun. And you can click on that. You can hear Father David playing the organ and singing, and you can follow his lead. We'll carry on down, and we've got all of the readings. There's the first reading there. Is that going to work? Yes. And it carries on, and there's a second reading there. And you can see all the way down. You just click as you go. And one thing that we did do, which changed sometime, I think maybe it's 2 or 3 weeks ago, we have merged. We used to have these things in 2 sections, but now we're not. Straight after the offertory, we've got the Eucharistic prayer, and you know when to go there because Father David will say, turn to page 19, And as he says that, then you go there. All right, there's everything you need. And then we've got the blessing, and then after the blessing, we've got the hymn, the recessional hymn. So that is the order of service for tomorrow's Eucharist. Our service starts at 3 p.m., which I suppose should be written on there, actually. I think I do like going over it because we can slowly adapt and change and make things better. So from now on, we'll have the time displayed for everyone, so there can be no doubt. And that's what we've come to do today. Really, we've come to look through the church times and to look through the order of service. So tomorrow it's 3 p.m. Starting at 3 p.m. Bangkok or Jakarta time. It was 2 p.m. last week, but that was only a one-off. So it's a 3 p.m. start, and hopefully we will see you there. Now I'm going to come back here and just share I can see myself a bit better, rather than hiding behind the order of service. You've seen the order of service, you've seen what we're doing. We're starting, as I say, at 3 p.m. and you're very welcome to join us. You're very welcome to sit there looking either on Facebook or YouTube or Twitch, and you can use the order of service to go through and to join in at your end. I think that's really important, especially if you are unable at the moment to get to a church or to get to your usual church, or even if your usual church is closed for the week, then you are very, very welcome at ours. And I think it really is a good thing that during these times of uncertainty, when so many places around the world are going back into lockdown, actually there is this consistency going on with online services which you can dip into. I know it's not the same. It really isn't the same as communal worship. But I think in the absence of any worship, online worship is a very good second best. Now, I feel like we've chatted about everything we've set out to chat about today. I'm really busy at the moment doing my assignments for Sarum College. As I've told you a couple of times before, I'm fulfilling a diploma in ministry with Sarum College, and we've got a couple of assignments due on the 8th, which is in 3 days' time. Now, one of those assignments is causing me real bother. I made myself laugh and cough there. That was quite funny. So one of them's causing me real bother, and I've out of 2,500 words, I've written about 900, slightly less than 900, and it's quite annoying because I feel like I've said all that I want to say, and so then I'm left with this kind of, well, I've just got to get some more relevant stuff, and I'm just now hunting around for the extra words. But if only it said a maximum of, no more of, and less is very welcome. So I don't know if that's the nature of it, really, and there isn't sufficient time. Now we're on Saturday. There isn't sufficient time for me to phone my tutor to say, look, if it's 900 good words, is that better than 2,500 bad words? Because I feel like I've done it. Anyway, that is by the by. I will pad it out and we will get 2,500 words, or as close as we can, before handing that in on the 8th. But the second one, which is the easier one, I think I'm going to have to ask for an extension, which is not ideal. But I think it's better to ask for permission now, even if it's the last minute, the 11th hour. Just get the extension applied for effectively, and then hand it in as soon as after the 8th as I can. So if I could maybe get it in on like the 12th or the 15th, that's not ideal, but it's okay. So yeah, that's my plan really. That's what I'm being up to. That's what I've been up to for the last week or so, a bit more than a week really. And I hadn't really made very much progress because I was really wrestling with the concept of the of the assignment, and I've as I say, I've really found it difficult because we have to write. It's a reflection. It's 2,500 word reflection on the phrase ministry is not just a role one plays. So, as an introduction to an assignment, uh, it's small, and yet it has huge scope for a lot of material, right? So anyway, that's where we are now. All right, that's where we are right now, and I thought I should give you an update because I know. Well, I always try and give everyone an update. There's no point in pretending either that I'm doing really well if I'm doing badly, or saying that I'm doing badly when actually I'm coping okay. I think I'm in the middle. I'm not, it's not ideal, but we're going to be okay. And I feel happy that I've done the more difficult one first. That makes sense. Anyway, look, I feel like I'm rambling now, but I felt like I had to get that off my chest. And actually, that is part of the purpose, part of the function of the world as we see it, is for me to do that kind of reflecting, to do that kind of thinking and talking to you guys about it. So without necessarily always having a reply, right? Just having thought about it. Now, I think what we will do, we will go now to the Lord's Prayer. So if there's anyone who would rather not pray with us, then you are, you're excused, I suppose, if you have to. But if you don't mind sticking around, you would be very welcome to join in. Let us pray with confidence to the Father, as our Saviour has taught us. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, for ever and ever. Amen. God of our salvation, help us to turn away from those habits which harm our bodies and poison our minds, and to choose again your gift of life revealed to us in Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen. Now, thank you very much for accompanying me on this part of my journey, this step along the road to ordination, as I like to call it. Yes, it is very, very useful having you here. So, yes, thank you so much for being here. And as I always say, with prayers and best wishes, bye-bye for now.